Okay. Happy early Sunday morning. All is good. The Yankees lost, UW Huskies lost, and WSU won. So I'm in a good mood. And I'm going to talk about Othram. And this was an article sent to me by one of my viewers, Andy Libby. And Othram helped solve another cold case, this time a really, really old one. So let's get started on the article and you'll see why this is so interesting. So the article says DNA testing reveals skull found in a wall belonged to a teen who died 150 years ago. It says DNA testing revealed that a skull found decades ago in the wall of an Illinois house belonged to an 18-year-old woman who died just after the American Civil War. Officials in Kane County told a news conference Thursday that a skull discovered during renovations at a property in Batavia, west of Chicago, in 1978 has now been matched to Esther Granger, an Indiana woman who died after childbirth in 1866. County officials were able to make a family tree and even contact a living relative, Granger's great-great-grandson, who submitted a DNA sample. They also generated an impression of her likely appearance. Authorities have speculated that Granger's body may have been stolen and moved by grave robbers. The skull was thought to be old, perhaps predating 1900, but despite an investigation, it had been kept in storage at Batavia Depot Museum for almost 50 years with its mystery unsolved. It was rediscovered in a box while museum staff were cleaning in 2021. Police were contacted and the coroner's office began the process of formal identification using modern techniques. Esther was born on October 6, 1848 in Indiana. In 1865, at 16 years old, she married Charles Granger and after a few months became pregnant with their first child, Coroner Bob Russell told the news. In May of 1866, Esther gave birth to a baby girl but lost her life soon after due to complications from childbirth. Granger was buried in Indiana and the baby was named Esther in her honor. The county had used Texas company Othram Laboratories to sequence the skull's DNA. This was crowdfunded through DNAsolves.com, which raised $7,500. After just 3 weeks, Othram produced an ancestral match and were able to find Granger's great-great-grandson, Wayne Svillar, 69, a retired sergeant from Portland, Oregon. When contacted in April, he was wary of taking part. To be completely honest, we didn't believe a word of it, he told the news conference. I said, you can keep talking if you want, but I don't believe you. Sivlar founded a cold case unit while working at the police bureau in 2004, and he currently works on cold cases for Multnomah County in Portland. He and his wife thought the call may be related to an old case of his. What convinced me that this was not some well-organized scam was their passion for their work, he said. There is this sense of closure. I wish my mom were here so I could tell her the story. She would have loved it. He added that the illustration of Granger's face had a likeness of his own mother. The mystery, however, is not entirely solved. How did the skull end up in a wall in Illinois when Granger's body was buried in Indiana? We will never definitely know exactly, but with records and good reason, we've come to common sense theory. We believe Esther was a victim of grave robbing, Russell said. Grave robbing was quite common in that era, and it was quite profitable. The grave robbers made the equivalent of 3 to 4 months' earnings for the average person working 60 hours a week. While the practice was illegal, the law forbidding grave robbing was not always enforced. It was hugely controversial, and as a result, with riots and even murders of alleged perpetrators following some suspected grave robbing incidents. Russell speculated that the skull could at some point have been bought by a medical student. Granger was buried at West Batavia Cemetery, where her name was already engraved on a stone tower. Sivlar traveled to be at the interment and gave a eulogy. Now, how cool was that? Not only were they able to rightfully get her skull returned to where her gravesite was, but her relative that they found was also somebody that works on cold cases. But also, did you catch that? Othram was able to find him in 3 weeks. And that goes back to what their vice president had said in that other article I brought up a couple weeks ago, where they said they can do a profile within days, but sometimes it can take longer. So, anyone that's trying to say that there is a set time frame of like 6 weeks or more with Othram, that is absolutely not true. Depending on the DNA they have to work with, depending on how quick they can get into family tree histories, they can do things within days, as their vice president said, or even weeks. But I just wanted to get that out there, and thanks again for Andy for sending me this article.